Is evolution a capitalist system? More importantly, is it like a pure, unfettered capitalist system? Hi, my name is Steve, and welcome to Awake with Steve, where I talk about things that keep me up at night, wake me up in the middle of the night, things that cause me anxiety. Sometimes it's just things I like batting around in my head, looking at how much fun they might be to solve or look at. So, today, the question is evolution a pure capitalist system? As in unfettered, not controlled in any way. Well, let's look at evolution. Evolution generally starts with a random mutation in an individual member of a species. Okay. If that individual member has more offspring, then that mutation will come to dominate the species, thereby improving its overall probability of survival. Inherent in that definition of evolution is competition. There's all kinds of competition for this, that, for the niches. You could compete for food, for mates, ideal territories, whatever that species evolves to compete for. But competition is the main issue for survival here. Now, in the evolution of our planet, I look at it and I look where we as humans are, and we're top of the food chain. We have wiped out every competitor. Yeah, a grizzly might take out a human once in a while, then we go and kill a grizzly. The only real competition that we have for survival on this planet comes from viruses and bacteria, fungus, basically diseases. And we're rapidly learning how to negate the effect of those on human beings. I mean, COVID took us, less than 6 months to develop a vaccine for, and we're getting faster and faster at doing that already. So we have reached a point where we completely dominate this planet. We have our vendors and our customers can no longer meet our needs. As a result, we're trashing this planet, and if we don't do something about it, this planet we will now no longer be able to survive on this planet. So, hey, maybe it's not unfettered, all right? Except we have the choice of whether we want to do this or not. So, the argument here against it being capitalist is, but there's one species that dominates everything, and ultimately, in a true capitalist system, there would be some competition that would come in and outcompete that species for that niche. I question that. I really question that criteria. So maybe it's time we go and look at the capitalist side of this discussion. Capitalism, competition everywhere. Company provides materials. Company, call it thingamajig maker. They provide a service and products to their customers, and they are constantly working on increasing, getting more customers in, watching their prices, their costs, etc., to keep their customers happy. Because if they don't, there's going to be another company, small company maker, that comes in and eats their lunch. And it won't be in an obvious way. But again, there's room for competition, right? We get and especially the more people we have on the planet, the more room for competition. And if there's no government imposing its regulations on the economic system, then it's a nice, pure, unfettered capitalist system, and there will always be competition. Really. For perspective on that, I would go back to the age of robber barons, end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th, when there were probably maybe a half a dozen, maybe a dozen men in the world, well, in this country anyway, who pretty much controlled the economy. You've got U.S. Steel. Hey, somebody figured out how to refine steel a little bit cheaper over here. They bought them out. Somebody came up with a competitive product to the steel girders that they were manufacturing. They bought them out. And if they couldn't buy them out, they lowered their prices so that the competition would go broke. So basically, there was one steel manufacturer in the United States. Standard Oil? Same thing. J.P. Getty. Just go list through the 12 richest men in the world, in the United States at that time. And then, okay, I keep saying world, but, so people say, well, somebody in some other country in the world would come in and create competition. Up to what point? Some of the biggest companies in the world are European, and actually now Chinese. And the Chinese companies aren't going to let competitors exist. They'll come in, they will undercut prices, they will buy you out. They're doing both of this in places where the Chinese government cannot put regulations in place because they don't govern those areas. Even then, we get into competition among governments. It's kind of a capitalist system. Which government is going to dominate which one and impose their economic system on that other place. So we're I would maintain that a pure, unfettered capitalist system will result in one company, just one, dominating everything. A recent example of a beginning of that process was, I believe it was Goldman Sachs a few years ago, started buying up aluminum stock, wholesale. Price of aluminum at the time was low. They were just buying it up and throwing it into warehouses with the belief system that when the prices went up, they'd sell it. They had enough money, they could do this. And if the federal government had not stepped in, that would have been a part of their business model. Okay? They would then they had enough money to control the price of commodities. What is there another one? BlackRock. I don't know this for sure. I've heard stories of BlackRock I think it's BlackRock, a company that owns basically shares of every company on the Standard & Poor's 500 list and more. Every major company in the United States they own shares of. So you can essentially say they own all the companies in the country. Is it still a capitalist system? Take away the government, how much can BlackRock own? Right now they have to, if it's over 5%, they have to report to the government that they own more than 5%. And if they're going to try and take controlling interest, they need to report that. Those are government regulations that restrict unfettered capitalism, correct? Yeah. So I would maintain, once again, like evolution, unfettered, unconstrained capitalism will result in one person, one company, one family, someone of dominating the entire system, given enough time. Okay, why is this important? I'm wondering if we haven't reached the end of the line as far as evolution goes. We're dominating the planet. We're trashing it. Pollution has become an overwhelming problem in a lot of cases. We're overheating the planet with our exhausts. We are we have reached a point in our demographics where people aren't having kids anymore. For whatever reason. It's too expensive, it's too crowded, it's too something. It's not a nice world to bring kids into. And on the capitalist side of it, on the economic side, we have companies, effectively, that control huge portions of the economy. One of the companies that comes to mind is Yum. I believe they own A&W, Chick-fil-A, not Chick-fil-A, but well, they own many, many, many restaurants. Or Pepsi. How many different varieties of food does Pepsi own? They sell more than just Pepsi. They've got Frito-Lay and all the chips company and all the companies that Frito-Lay owns, and the story list goes on and on. So how much further can we go up that food chain before there's 1, 2, 3, maybe half a dozen companies that own everything in the world? So maybe we've reached the end on both sides, and the question is, how do we go on from here? Do we voluntarily constrain the evolutionary processes that are at work on the human race? Do we voluntarily limit how we consume, what we consume? Do we take responsibility for ensuring that there's a diversity of other species maintained on the planet for our own survival? Don't know, but we're in a position where things have to change, and if we really are a truly capitalist system, evolutionarily, we've reached the end of we've reached the end of our capitalist system, and it will collapse. Now, in economics, okay, when you become the only company in the world that owns everything, aren't you then required to be responsible for the well-being of your customers and your vendors? In the U.S., we're looking at a world where more and more people are being pushed into poverty or into lower classes where they earn less money. But we're a consumer-based organization, consumer-based country, economy, where if you don't have consumers, you don't have an economy. It's gone. So at what point do the powers that be, and this is both on the left and the right, accept responsibility for caring about their customers, the consumer? Interesting question, just tossing it around. I would still maintain that evolution is, in the purest form, of unfettered capitalism. And it's until we put our own limits on us that it becomes something less than that. So, with that, see you. Until next time, bye.